morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Okay, we are super excited to have you today on the show, and it's been a wonderful time with Dr. Sadiq. Okay, before Dr. Sadiq, I want to ask this question about, we talked about the decentralized power, and experts argue that this is not abandonment of the grid, it's a transition. What would you say about the decentralized power?
Yeah, so the decentralization framework actually is a good omen for the Nigerian power sector. Particularly, it brings in resilience, it brings in economic growth and accountability. When I say resilience, it means that the failure in Maiduguri will not actually affect those enjoying power in Abia State, for instance, or probably a bushfire in Kebbi will not affect the power supply in Lagos. So this is resilience. Economic growth, because this will now spur in some investment, and there will be 247 power supply, and this will mean that more industries will come up. And then accountability, because state governors will no longer blame the federal government of lack of power, because there are now enabling laws that allow them to not just generate, but to also transmit and distribute. And some of these states have actually established states-owned regulatory commissions. So this is actually a good omen for the decentralization. So it's better that we walk away quietly or sprint away from what we call the national grid to what I now call the grid of grids. Yeah.
Okay. From the consumer point of view, is there any protection for those that can't afford to exit the group? Is there any protection for these, consumers?
Yeah, so there is absolutely nobody that cannot exit the grid. And as I said earlier, nobody is actually exiting the grid, but we are actually decentralizing. It's actually not exiting. Even those that have established mini grids are actually islands, and they are still connected to the grid. But what is happening now is the fact that when there is no power supply from the grid, they have generation infrastructure, they have transmission infrastructure, and they can also distribute. It means that they can stand on their own independently without supply from the grid. So nobody absolutely is exiting the grid per se, but then it means that stakeholders in the power supply industry need to also step in and prove the needful. For instance, the Nigerian independent system operators, they need to provide the right framework for the operation of the grid, because we now have islands that can connect and disconnect at will. So they need to provide framework, they need to provide algorithm that will now enable this. Another stakeholder is NEC, the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. Of course, they've been doing a lot by providing or transferring this regulatory framework to states. And so we need that inter-layer where states are regulating and NEC is also regulating. For instance, in the last Niger State's stakeholders engagement, there was the question of, so who regulates the generating companies in Niger State? Is this the state regulator or is this still NEC? So these frameworks need to actually be built and provided, and then we have seamless set of transition and regulatory frameworks. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Doctor. Wow. I don't know if you love what you just heard, and if you're thrilled, you can go watch this particular episode on our Facebook platform at UpNepa and on YouTube at UpNepa_platform. If you've not followed us, do well to follow, do well to hit the notification button so as you get to see new updates from UpNepa. Keep watching UpNepa. UpNepa, let there be light.